Have you ever wondered why some older men effortlessly draw younger women towards them, while others get rejected, ignored, or even laughed at? It's not just about looks, money, or age. The truth is, younger women don't actually hate older men. In fact, many are deeply attracted to them. But what kills that attraction are certain habits. Habits that make a man look weak, desperate, and unworthy of respect. And here's the shocking part. Most older men don't even realize they're doing it. They think they're being romantic, generous, or caring. But to a younger woman, those very behaviors can feel suffocating, unattractive, and even pathetic. Today, I'm going to reveal the 7 habits that kill attraction between older men and younger women. And once you understand this, you'll see why Stoicism, the ancient philosophy of strength, control, and self-mastery, holds the key to being the kind of man younger women admire instead of avoid. So let's dive in. Habit 1. Acting like her father instead of her man. One of the most dangerous mistakes older men make when dating younger women is slipping into the role of a father figure rather than being her partner. At first, it seems harmless. After all, you've lived longer, you've seen more of life, you've made mistakes and learned lessons. Naturally, you want to share that wisdom. But here's the harsh reality. If she begins to feel like she's dating a parent instead of a man, attraction evaporates. Take the story of Daniel, a 42-year-old from New York. When he first met Emily, a bright 26-year-old graduate student, she was enchanted by his maturity. Unlike the younger men she had dated in college, Daniel had direction, stability, and a calm presence. At first, this difference felt exciting. But as months passed, Daniel couldn't resist stepping into the father role. He criticized the way Emily dressed for dinners, telling her skirts were too short. He made comments about how she should spend less time with her single girlfriends in Brooklyn because they were a bad influence. He even lectured her on the books she read, suggesting she should be reading something more serious instead of the modern romance novels she enjoyed. Emily's initial fascination with his maturity turned into resentment. She didn't feel like she was in a relationship anymore. She felt like she was being constantly corrected. Attraction isn't built through lectures. It's built through connection. And the moment she felt small, the spark she had once felt began to die. This happens because of a simple truth about psychology. Attraction thrives when a woman feels feminine, free, and admired. But when an older man plays the father role, she feels like a child under his authority, not a woman desired by his presence. The power dynamic shifts from passion to parenting, and no woman wants to kiss a man who constantly tells her what to do. Now here's where Stoicism comes in. The Stoics understood something timeless. You can only control your own behavior, not the behavior of others. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. Instead of trying to control a younger woman's lifestyle, fashion, or social circle, focus on embodying your values. Show discipline through your own choices. Lead by example, not by orders. Think about the difference between a man who lectures and a man who inspires. In London, I once heard a story of Michael, a 46-year-old who dated a younger woman named Olivia. Unlike Daniel, Michael never tried to control her. Instead, he lived with quiet authority. He maintained his routines, stayed disciplined in his fitness, and treated others with respect. Olivia admitted to her friends, "He never tells me what to do, but somehow just being around him makes me want to level up." That's the power of Stoicism in action. Women don't fall in love with fathers. They fall in love with men who can protect them without suffocating them, guide them without forcing them, and inspire them without controlling them. When you act like her father, you shrink her femininity. When you act like her man, you bring it alive. The truth is, younger women don't hate older men for their age. They hate when those men misuse their maturity to control instead of uplift. Attraction lives in freedom, respect, and balance. Lose that and you lose her. Habit 2. Buying affection instead of earning respect. The second habit that kills attraction is one many older men fall into without realizing it. Trying to buy a younger woman's love with money, gifts, or luxury. On the surface, it feels like a winning strategy. After all, you've built wealth. You can afford fine dining in Manhattan, trips to Paris, or designer handbags. But here's the brutal truth. Money can open the door, but it cannot keep her inside. Let's look at Michael, a successful 48-year-old businessman from Toronto. He started dating women in their 20s and was known for his generosity. On the first date, he would take them to the most expensive rooftop restaurants. By the second week, he was buying jewelry. On vacations, he would fly them first class to Miami or Los Angeles. At first, the women seemed thrilled. They posted photos on Instagram, they laughed, they hugged him, but deep down they didn't respect him. Why? Because he wasn't showing them who he truly was. He was showing them his credit card. When the gifts stopped, so did their attention. Here's what most men miss. When you lead with money, you subconsciously communicate, "I'm not enough as I am. I need to purchase your attraction." And women are far more intuitive than men give them credit for. They can sense when a man doubts his own value. Younger women may enjoy the gifts, but what they admire is a man who doesn't need to give them. The psychology is simple. Respect cannot be bought. Desire cannot be purchased. A woman may accept gifts, but genuine attraction comes from qualities money cannot buy: confidence, direction, masculine calm, and unshakable presence. Now think of another example. In Manchester, David, a 46-year-old lawyer, met Sarah, a 25-year-old artist. Unlike Michael, David didn't shower her with gifts. Instead, he brought her into his world. He introduced her to his favorite books, took her to the park he ran in every morning, and shared his passion for history and philosophy. Sarah later told her friends, "It wasn't about money. He made me feel like I was part of something bigger, his life, his mission." That's the difference. The Stoic perspective here is powerful. Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." The man who doesn't need to prove himself with money radiates strength. He doesn't use wealth as a mask. He uses it as a tool, wisely, sparingly, without attachment. Younger women don't hate older men because they have money. In fact, financial stability can be attractive. What they hate is when men reduce themselves to their wallets. Because once she sees you as an ATM, she no longer sees you as a man. Respect is earned through character, not purchased through gifts. And the man who understands this becomes magnetic. He shows the world, "I don't need to buy love, because who I am is already enough." Habit 3, oversharing your past like a confession booth. Older men often believe that honesty means unloading every single detail of their past onto a younger woman. They talk about their divorce, their failures, their regrets, and all the scars they carry. On the surface, it feels like being vulnerable, but here's the reality: to a younger woman, it often feels like emotional dumping, and nothing suffocates attraction faster than making her feel like your therapist instead of your lover. Think about James, a 50-year-old from Manchester. On his second date with a woman named Chloe, who was just 27, he opened up completely. He told her about his bitter divorce, the custody battle over his kids, the money he lost in a failed business, and how lonely he had felt for years. Chloe sat across from him, nodding politely, sipping her wine. But as soon as the date ended, she never returned his calls. Why? Because she didn't feel drawn to him. She felt drained by him. Here's the truth. Attraction thrives on mystery. Women want to peel back layers slowly to feel like they are discovering a man's world step by step. But when you dump your entire past on the table too quickly, you remove the intrigue. Instead of seeing strength, she sees wounds. Instead of feeling excitement, she feels pressure. Now, don't mistake this for dishonesty. Stoicism doesn't teach you to hide who you are. It teaches you to carry your struggles with dignity. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." When you constantly revisit your pain and repeat it to others, you magnify it. And the woman across the table doesn't see a strong man. She sees a man still trapped in his own past. Here's the psychology. Women are naturally drawn to men who can hold their emotions, not drown in them. A younger woman doesn't mind hearing about your past eventually. In fact, she might admire your journey. But she doesn't want to feel like she's sitting in a confession booth, listening to you beg for forgiveness from life. A man rooted in Stoicism knows when to share and when to stay silent. He doesn't deny his scars, but he doesn't use them to seek pity either. He shows that he's been through battles, but he carries himself like a warrior who has survived, not a victim who still bleeds. Think of Henry, a 47-year-old from London. When he dated Sophie, a 26-year-old artist, he didn't dump his divorce story on her on the first night. Instead, he let her see his calm demeanor, his sense of humor, his discipline. Weeks later, when the moment naturally came, he simply said, I went through some tough years, but I'm grateful. It made me who I am. That one sentence revealed his past, but in a way that highlighted strength, not weakness. Sophie respected him for it. Women remember how a man makes them feel. If you make her feel like a burden bearer for your misery, she'll run. But if you make her feel like she's standing beside a man who carries his scars with pride, she'll admire you. The lesson is simple. Oversharing kills attraction. Carry your past with dignity, not desperation. Share it slowly with strength when the time is right. Because the man who radiates calm over chaos is the one women desire. Habit 4. Needing her validation like oxygen. This habit is a silent attraction killer, and it's one many older men fall into without realizing it. When an older man dates a younger woman, sometimes his confidence crumbles. Instead of standing strong in his value, he starts asking constant questions. Do you still like me? Am I too old for you? Are you talking to other guys? At first it seems like innocent curiosity, but in reality it's desperation, and desperation is poison. Take Olivia, a 27-year-old from Sydney. She once shared on a podcast about dating a man in his mid-40s. At first, she admired his confidence, his maturity, and his lifestyle. But after a few months, his insecurity started to show. Every time she went out with her friends, he'd text her repeatedly, asking if she was thinking about other men. He joked constantly about being too old for her. She said, it felt like babysitting his insecurity instead of dating a man. Eventually, she left. Here's the brutal truth. Women crave certainty. They are drawn to men who know their value and don't need constant reassurance. If you doubt yourself, you force her into the role of caretaker, and that role kills desire. Psychology confirms this. Validation-seeking behavior reveals deep insecurity. It shows that you value her opinion more than your own. And if you don't see yourself as valuable, why should she? Stoicism offers the antidote. Marcus Aurelius wrote, if you are pained by external things, it is not they that disturb you, but your own judgment of them. In other words, if you're insecure, it's not her fault. It's your perception. A man who masters his perception masters his attraction. Think about two men. Richard, 48, from Los Angeles, dated a younger woman named Emily. He constantly sought validation, asking her to reassure him that she wasn't leaving. Emily lost respect. But in contrast, David, 45, from Manchester, took a different path. When dating a 25-year-old woman, he never asked for reassurance. He stayed focused on his mission, his gym routine, his career. She once tested him by pulling away for a week, expecting him to panic. Instead, he calmly carried on. That calmness made her chase him harder. Here's the psychology. When a woman feels you don't need her validation, she gives it freely. When you beg for it, she withholds it. Younger women don't hate older men. They hate older men who act like insecure boys. The moment you need her to validate you, you stop being her man and become her responsibility. And no woman finds responsibility attractive. The Stoic man lives differently. He draws validation from within. He knows his mission, his values, his worth. If she stays, wonderful. If she leaves, life goes on. That energy is irresistible. Confidence is quiet. Insecurity screams. The man who stands unshaken in his value doesn't just attract women, he keeps them. Habit 5. Competing with younger men instead of standing apart. One of the most tragic mistakes older men make when dating younger women is trying to compete with the very thing they should be different from younger men. Instead of embracing the unique strength that comes with maturity, they chase trends, mimic youthful behavior, and try to prove they can still keep up. But here's the irony. The moment you try to act like a 22-year-old, you stop being the man she was drawn to in the first place. Take David, a 45-year-old lawyer in Los Angeles. When he met Lily, a 25-year-old graduate student, she was impressed by his confidence, his career success, and his calm maturity. But soon David began to feel insecure about the age gap. Rather than owning his age, he tried blending in with her social circle. He bought trendy ripped jeans, downloaded TikTok to mimic viral dances, and started throwing around slang that sounded unnatural coming from his mouth. At first, Lily laughed, but not in the way he hoped. She didn't admire him, she pitied him. His attempt to stay young backfired. He looked less like a man and more like a parody. Here's the psychology. Women are not drawn to older men because they resemble boys. They're drawn because they embody what boys lack: grounding, wisdom, stability, and clarity. The moment you chase youth, you give up your advantage. You surrender the very thing that made her notice you in the first place. Women respect polarity. If she's the lively, playful, spontaneous energy, you must be the grounded, calm, steady energy. It's the contrast that creates attraction. Competing with her peers strips you of your masculine edge. This is where stoicism becomes your secret weapon. Seneca once wrote, "The greatest empire is to be emperor of oneself." The man who governs himself doesn't chase trends or validation. He sets the standard. He doesn't need to outdance, outparty, or outdrink the younger men around her, because his power is internal. He doesn't have to prove his relevance. He is relevant. I'll give you another story. In London, Marcus, a 49-year-old architect, started dating Sarah, a 26-year-old designer. Unlike David, Marcus never tried to compete with the younger men in Sarah's circle. When she invited him to casual hangouts with her friends, he didn't try to impress them by pretending to be their age. Instead, he remained himself calm, well-spoken, and quietly confident. Sarah later told a friend, "The younger guys were fun, but Marcus, he was different. He made me feel safe. He made me feel like I was stepping into a world I'd never known." That's the difference. The man who stands apart becomes magnetic. So here's the lesson: never compete with younger men. Don't mimic their slang, their style, or their lifestyle. Instead, double down on the qualities that make you distinct: your stability, your depth, your experience, your composure. She doesn't want another boy. She wants the man the boys can never be. Habit 6, losing your mission for her attention. This habit is perhaps the most dangerous of all. A younger woman might initially admire an older man because of his purpose, his discipline, his achievements. But the moment he abandons all of that just to orbit around her, attraction begins to die. Think of Richard, a 47-year-old entrepreneur in London. He had built a thriving business, kept a disciplined gym routine, and was respected in his field. When he started dating Anna, a 24-year-old artist, she was drawn to his focus and ambition. But slowly, Richard began to lose himself. He started skipping business meetings to take Anna shopping. He stopped going to the gym so he could spend lazy afternoons with her. He even ignored his lifelong friends just to be available whenever she called. At first, Anna enjoyed the attention. But soon something shifted. She lost respect for him. Why? Because he stopped being man who had first attracted her. Here's the psychology. Women test men constantly, often without realizing it. When she sees how easily you can be pulled off your mission, she recognizes weakness. She thinks, if I can distract him from his purpose this easily, can he really protect or lead me long term? Desires rooted in respect, and once respect fades, an attraction follows. Stoicism offers clarity here. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Your mission is not negotiable. It is the core of who you are. Relationships should complement your mission, not replace it. In Toronto, I once heard of Andrew, a 46-year-old musician. When he dated Emily, a 25-year-old nurse, he made it clear, music is my purpose. It's not something I do for fun. It's who I am. He never abandoned his rehearsals or writing sessions for her. At times, Emily tested him, asking him to skip studio sessions to spend more time together. Andrew calmly but firmly refused. And rather than losing her, his conviction drew her in deeper. She admired his discipline. She felt honored to be part of his world rather than his entire world. Here's the truth. Women don't fall in love with men who revolve around them. They fall for men who revolve around their own mission, pulling her into orbit as part of their journey. When you abandon your mission for her, you betray yourself. And when you betray yourself, she will eventually betray you. Not because she's cruel, but because respect cannot live where self-respect has died. The Stoic man stays the course. His mission is his compass. If a woman fits into his world, he welcomes her. If she doesn't, he doesn't collapse. He continues forward. That unshakable purpose is magnetic. It makes her feel both secure and excited, because she knows she's with a man who cannot be moved by fleeting distractions. So here's the lesson. Never lose your mission for her attention. She may think she wants to be the center of your universe, but deep down, she wants to join a man whose universe already has direction. Habit 7, fearing aging instead of owning it. The final and most destructive habit older men fall into is fearing their age. They try to hide their gray hair, mask their wrinkles, or obsess over the idea that youth is slipping away. And the more they fight against aging, the more desperate they appear. To a younger woman, nothing is more unattractive than a man ashamed of the very years that should be his crown. Take Paul, a 50-year-old banker from Chicago. When he started dating Jessica, a 28-year-old nurse, he constantly made jokes about being the old guy. Every time she mentioned something about her friends, Paul would nervously say, "I'm probably too old to understand." When they walked past a group of younger men, he would point at them and mutter, "You'd probably be happier with someone like that." Jessica didn't laugh. She didn't find his insecurity cute. She found it draining. Eventually, she told her friends, "I liked him at first, but he couldn't stop reminding me of the age gap. He killed the attraction by obsessing over it." Here's the psychology. Women don't hate older men because of their age. They hate older men who fear their age. If you act ashamed of your years, you communicate that you've lost faith in your own value, and attraction can never survive in self-contempt. Contrast Paul with another man, Edward, a 52-year-old entrepreneur from London. Edward had silver hair, a strong build, and an unshakable calm. He never apologized for his age. Instead, he embraced it. When his younger girlfriend Emma once teased him about being older, he smiled and replied, "Of course I'm older. That's why I know what I want." That single line reframed the entire dynamic. Emma didn't see a man clinging to youth. She saw a man proud of the years that had shaped him. This is where Stoicism shines like a torch in the dark. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good." The Stoics didn't see aging as a curse. They saw it as proof of survival, as a chance to embody wisdom and virtue. Every gray hair, every wrinkle, every scar, these are medals earned in the battle of life. A man who wears them with pride radiates strength. Think about it from a woman's perspective. When she sees a man terrified of aging, she feels like she must carry his insecurity. But when she sees a man who embraces his age with dignity, she feels safe, inspired, and even honored to stand beside him. Here's a story from New York. Anthony, a 49-year-old gym owner, never dyed his graying beard, never tried to dress like a college kid, and never complained about not being 25 anymore. Instead, he leaned into his age. He stayed disciplined with his body, kept sharp with his mind, and owned his presence. When women asked about his age, he answered proudly. One younger woman he dated, Claire, said, "He never pretended to be younger. He was just him." That confidence made him more attractive than any guy my age. This is the paradox. The more you embrace aging, the less it works against you. The more you fear it, the more it consumes you. Psychologically, this boils down to self-perception. Women mirror the way you view yourself. If you see yourself as declining, she will see you that way too. If you see yourself as a man growing stronger, wiser, and more grounded with time, she will feel it. Attraction flows from self-image. So here's the lesson. Aging is inevitable, but insecurity is optional. Own your years. Wear them with pride. Sharpen your body, yes, but sharpen your mind and spirit even more. Show her that age hasn't made you weaker. It's made you unshakable. Women don't fall for the man who hides from time. They fall for the man who embodies timelessness. And nothing is more timeless than a man who carries his age like armor, not like shame. Conclusion: the Stoic path of attraction. So let's tie this together. Younger women don't hate older men. They hate weakness disguised as love. They hate when you act like a father instead of a partner. They hate when you buy affection instead of earning respect. They hate when you overshare like a broken man looking for pity. They hate when you need their validation to feel alive. They hate when you compete with boys instead of owning your manhood. They hate when you lose your mission and orbit around them. And most of all, they hate when you fear time instead of embracing it. But when you flip these habits, when you embody stoicism, when you master yourself, when you embrace strength, discipline, and calm, you become magnetic, not just to younger women, but to everyone around you. Attraction isn't about chasing. It's about becoming. The man who owns himself doesn't beg for attention. He commands respect. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.